Hello everyone and welcome to my Stamina Sorcerer PVE DPS build 4-1 Tamriel. Let's get right into the build. We're going to try to make this video as short and sweet as possible. So on our main bar we're sitting at 17.4k max health, 35.7k max stamina, 2700 weapon damage, and 57.5 weapon critical. I am a red guard in this build. I recommend, however, being a Khajiit. Khajiit does do more damage in PVE DPS, but if you like to switch from PVE to PvP at times, I do recommend going with red guard because the sustain is almost a must-have in PvP. We're using max health and max stamina buff food, and we're using the Shadow and the Thief Wonder Stones because we're wearing Twiceborn Star to buff our crit, rating, and damage in trials. With Warhorn rotation, Twiceborn Star definitely does a ton of damage. For our potions, we're running the Essence of Weapon Power, which gives you your weapon damage, your weapon crit, and your stamina recovery buffs. This is a must-have. Don't run any self-buffs. It's a huge DPS loss. For our gear, we're running 5-piece medium Divine's Twiceborn Star. There is another set out there. It's called Leviathan. It's pretty strong as well. However, I do recommend sticking with Twiceborn Star, especially in trials, because of the Shadow Munda's damage modifier that you get from the Warhorn uptime. All medium Divines to buff the crit. Our second set, our monster set, is Krogs. This set is absolutely OP, especially because of the one piece which gives you 2k physical penetration. This is absolutely insane and a must-have to have, especially in trials. Again, medium Divines. We run 7 medium Divines for the crit passives from the medium armor tree. For our jewelry, we're running Vicious Ophidian, all weapon damage enchanted. You can also go with Alkosh, and if you don't have either of these, just regular agility with weapon damage enchants is good as well. For our weapons, we're running one-handed Maelstrom Axe sharpened and one-handed Maelstrom Dagger sharpened. The Axe procs a bleed, especially in long fights. It does a ton of damage. The Dagger boosts our crit, so it's a must to have both. I like to have our Maelstrom Axe on a main hand because we do mainly weave with our main hand. If you take a look at any of the videos or try it out yourself, when you do weave, usually the axe hits first. Maelstrom bows on our back bar, obviously sharpened as well. This is really strong, and Endless Hail is one of our top DPS abilities on any stamina characters, so make sure you have that. Now, to be honest, if you don't have Maelstrom weapons, your stamina characters are not going to do enough damage. Switch to Magicka, play Magicka. But if you really want to play stamina, make sure you farm these Maelstrom weapons for sure. It's a huge DPS loss not running Maelstrom weapons on stamina characters. It's unfortunate. You can run Night Mother's Gaze, but again, the DPS loss is going to be very substantial, so do farm these weapons. In Maelstrom, however, you don't need to use the Maelstrom Axe and Dagger. The fights are very short, so you can run Night Mother's Gaze and Vicious Ophidian on the body. Getting into the skills, on our front bar we're running Bound Armaments. This skill is very strong because not only does it give you minor resolve, increasing your physical resistance, but most importantly, it gives you 8% max stamina, which is huge DPS increase. You have to double bar it because it's a toggle. So when I buff this, my stats actually go to 38,000 max stamina buffed. So again, this is a huge DPS increase. Our next skill is Steel Tornado. Now, use this when there's more than 2 adds in a fight. When there's only one boss or one add, or it's mainly single target, I recommend running Deadly Cloak. It's a pretty nice single target DPS ability. Does about 3k damage in a long fight, and it does save you from any AOE damage abilities. So for example, Hard Mode Maw of Larkage, I definitely recommend running this to reduce all the AOE damage that you take. Our next skill is Hurricane. Hurricane is absolutely OP. It does 1000 starting physical damage every second for 15 seconds. And as the duration increases, the damage increases up to 225%. Meaning the damage from this can go up to 2300 physical damage every second at the end of the duration. So definitely keep this up, as well as giving you major resolve, major ward, and minor expedition. So it increases your physical, spell resistance, and gives you a little bit of movement speed as well. So do keep this up 100% of the time. Our next ability is Rending Slashes. This is a very common DPS ability. It can be empowered by our Maelstrom weapon, so make sure you use this after Rapid Strikes, and we'll go over rotation in a little bit. Rapid Strikes is our main spammable. We do use this a lot on our Stamina Sorc, and we do buff all of our dots with it. The ultimate does change around, but mainly we use Rend. This is absolutely OP, broken ability. In boss fights, it does a ton of damage, and it also heals you for 50% of the damage done. So usually you'll be doing 60k plus minimum. When empowered, you're doing a ton more with it. You probably get over 120k damage with this ability when empowered and when it does crit. So the healing and the damage is absolutely crazy. Sometimes you can switch this out to Flawless Dawnbreaker when you're doing AoE or short bursty fights, and sometimes Suppression Field works as well for very, very specific fights. But I do mainly run Rend on my front bar. Let's go over the back bar. Again, Bound Armaments, because it's a toggle, you have to have it on both bars. Our next is Rearming Trap. This is one of the strongest dots in the game for stamina users. It does a ton of damage, but not only does it do a ton of damage, it also gives you minor force, which increases all of your critical damage by 12%. So all of your abilities are buffed by Rearming Trap. Now the way that it works is you put it down, and it can stay on the ground for over a minute if nothing goes in it. But as soon as an ad goes in the trap, it arms itself. It takes 1 second to arm. It arms, works for 6 seconds, then disarms, rearms itself after a second and a half, does 6 seconds more of damage, and then it's gone. So you only apply this when it pretty much runs out. But we'll go over rotation in a second. Our next skill is Crit Surge. Now, when you do purely DPS, I do take Crit Surge off and put on Razor Caltrops. But in hard mode trials, you do need some type of self-healing, and it's better than Vigor. It is better than Vigor for self-heals. However, if you want to help the group out, you can put on Vigor in this spot. If you want pure damage, you put Razor Caltrops in the spot. And if you want good survivability yourself, definitely put Crit Surge in that spot. Crit Surge also boosts your weapon damage on your back bar, so do keep that up. Now remember, we're not using this for a major brutality buff. We're using this simply because we want some type of self-heals on the hard mode content. Next is Endless Hail. This is an absolutely OP ability, especially when buffed by the Maelstrom Bow. This is going to be on top of most of our recaps for stamina DPS users, so do keep this up 100% of the time. Poison Injection, very, very strong dot. When empowered, we use it 100% of the time, so do keep that up as well. And then lastly, we're using Overload. Now again, this is not a must-have. The way that I use Overload is I go into it, we make sure that we have Bound Armaments so it doesn't get taken off. The rest of the skills don't really matter. The only two skills that are a must-have on the Overload bar is your Bound Armaments and your Caltrops if you're not running them on your back bar. That was absolutely noob. I don't know why I did that. But on your Overload bar, run Caltrops, pre-buff them before fights. Make sure you keep that up as much as possible, but it's not very important to keep up throughout the middle of the fight. So you would never go into a fight, go back into Overload, throw Caltrops, and then go back to your rotation. Never do that. Before the fight starts, you're running, you throw your caltrops, take off overload, and then you go into your rotation. Don't switch to overload bar in the middle of fights. So that's it for the skills. Let's go over the CP. Our champion points look just like this. 100 Warlord to reduce the stamina cost. 87 into Mooncalf to increase our recovery. Nothing in this blue tree. All our points go in the last blue tree, which is 100 into Mighty, 48 in Precise Strikes, and 39 in Thaumaturge. For the red tree, again, this is very, very situational. It depends on what you're running, what kind of trial you're doing, what kind of PvE content you're doing. This is very safe CP. 89 Elemental Defender, 73 into Hardy, 15 into Thick Skin, and the rest we put into Quick Recovery. That's what I was using for Dragonstar Arena. There's all kinds of damage there, so if you want to be kind of safe in the middle, I would use this CP setup. Okay, so let's take a look at the rotation for the Stamina Sorcerer. This is just like I do in Trials. I buff with Crit Surge, buff my Hurricane, buff my Deadly Cloak, go into Overload. For the one and only time in a fight, throw Caltrops, Bar Swap, fully charged heavy to start the fight, Rapid Strikes, Bar Swap, Trap, Hail, Poison Injection. Now if my ultimate is up, I'm going to buff it with Rapid Strikes and use Rend, then Rapid Strikes, Rending Slashes, and you're going to see my Hurricane go out, so I'm going to rebuff it as soon as I see it go down. There it is, and then use 2 more Rapid Strikes to fill the rotation. Then I restart the rotation with Trap, Hail, Poison Injection, Rapid Strikes, Rending Slashes are next, and then 3 Rapid Strikes to fill the rotation one more time. So every single rotation, there is some downtime. In that downtime, I just spam 3 Rapid Strikes. And then I start the rotation over again. Rapid Strikes, Trap, Hail, Poison Injection, Rapid Strikes, Rending Slashes, and then 3 more Rapid Strikes. Keep in mind that when you do use ultimate, instead of using 3 Rapid Strikes as damage filler, you only use 2 because one of them is spent on your ultimate. So when you ulti, use 2 Rapid Strikes as extra damage fillers. When you don't ulti, use 3 Rapid Strikes as extra damage fillers. As far as rebuffing Hurricane goes, we only rebuff Hurricane when you see it completely go down. As soon as you see it completely go down, rebuff Hurricane, because remember, the damage is increased with its duration. As far as Deadly Cloak rebuffing goes, you're going to rebuff it every other rotation. It's not the strongest dot to keep up, but it's really, really nice when you do take a lot of AoE damage. So do keep it up as much as you can. Only rebuff it every other rotation when you see it down. So make sure that you do that. That's it for the rotation. Once you master it, it's going to be a really strong single target and AoE. It's pretty simple, pretty clean. You can get it down, no problem at all. Remember, if you do have any questions about the rotation, make sure you ask in the comment section below as well. And if you have any comments or tips, do post them as well. So that's it for the build, everyone. I hope that the video did give you a general grasp of how to play the Stamina Sorcerer, how strong it can be. As you can see by the title, I have done hard mode Maul of Larkaj on this, which is the hardest content in the game. So this build really, really works nicely, puts out great damage if you can use it correctly and get the rotation down. If the video did help you out, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and I will be releasing other stamina videos very, very soon. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time. Bye bye.